Hold on a second. Yes, please hold on a second. I'll share the screen and I'll start the discussion. Okay. Okay. So here we go. Um, last class we discussed the three types of just a second. Three types of basic op-amp configurations. That is inverting amplifier, non-inverting amplifier, and voltage follower circuit with feedback. And we also saw their gain. How the gain changes as how the gain varies as the configuration changes. As the feedback configuration changes. That we saw in the last class. We'll continue from there. Yes, just hold on a second. I'll open the document and then I'll share the screen. So we saw both the open loop configuration as well as closed loop configuration. We saw the feedback. Somebody's on the line. Just a second. Okay, here we go. Yes, in case if your mobile automatically disconnects from the meeting, try to rejoin. Because the attendance app we have in our browser, it will track the students' attendance. How long you are there in the class, for how many minutes, what time you logged in, what time you logged out. So all those data will be automatically saved. So that will be considered for the attendance purpose. Okay. So please, I suggest you know in case even if you log out because of some network issue, or let us say because you got a call, something like that, so you try to rejoin so that the attendance will be updated. So we saw the okay. Okay, virtual ground concept we'll discuss. I think last class we were discussing about a closed loop voltage gain. Did we discuss? Please hold on a second. I'll share the screen. Okay, this is already shared. No issues. Okay, I thought it had stopped this sharing. No problem. Okay. This closed loop voltage gain. I think last class we discussed. This we discussed. Okay, for both the inverting amplifier as well as non-inverting amplifier. Okay. R1 plus RF K less than just a second, page numbers are correct. Okay, page number is correct. K less than, somebody is on the line, just a second. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is closed loop gain we discussed, minus RF by R1 for a inverting amplifier. This is okay. Okay, this next concept is inverting input terminal at the okay. So virtual ground concept we'll discuss this, because in most of the concepts we come across what is known as a virtual ground. Okay, so this concept of virtual ground is important. So in a inverting amplifier, okay, so how do we write inverting amplifier? This is the let us say non-inverting input, inverting input. So non-inverting input is grounded for a inverting amplifier. The input is given to inverting input, and feedback is also given to inverting input. Okay, so this is feedback is always to inverting input. Last class, as we have understood, feedback is always for a inverting input, not for the non-inverting input. Okay, because non-inverting input, the gain becomes very large. Okay, there will not be any control of the gain. Okay, so this is the um, op amp. So this is the inverting amplifier. So this is the inverting amplifier. So we give input to inverting input. So then we can call it as a. So you can call it as R1 and R2. So what is the voltage gain of this closed loop voltage gain? Closed loop voltage gain can be represented as minus RF. R1, sorry. In our case, it's R1. In textbook, they have taken it as RF. Okay, this is also represented as. It depends, it depends on. As I said, different authors prefers different. In some book they call it as RA also. They call it as RA, and this they call it as RB, something like that. Okay, so the denominator term will consist of the name of the resistor which is connected to ground. That's all. That's all we can remember. Very simple. Minus R2 by R1. So this is a closed loop gain of a inverting amplifier. Okay. So in this inverting amplifier, you can observe that the non-inverting input terminal is connected to ground. Okay. So if the non-inverting input terminal is connected to ground, this inverting input terminal is said to be in a situation called as virtual ground. It is in a condition called as virtual ground, in the sense the op amp tries to drive this terminal, this virtual ground to zero. It will try to drive this terminal to zero. Okay, so thereby maintaining both the terminals, that is non-inverting input terminal as well as inverting input terminal at ground potential. Then what happens to this input is applied. This input, as input changes, of course output changes depending on the gain of the operational amplifier, but uh, output changes. As soon as output change, the op amp tries to bring the inverting input terminal back to ground potential, because non-inverting input terminal is connected to ground. Okay, that is known as a virtual ground. That's why it's say the way it is virtual ground is because non-inverting input terminal, sorry, inverting input terminal as it is not connected to ground. This is not connected to ground. Okay, but still this terminal, inverting input terminal, remains at ground potential because the non-inverting input terminal is grounded. That's why inverting input terminal is at a condition called as virtual ground. Okay, so the non-inverting input terminal is grounded, and the input signal is applied to the inverting input terminal via resistor R1. Okay, why resistor R1 is considered, guys? Here it is the resistor R1. Since we have used R1 here, you can call it as RA, RB, whatever it is. The author is discussing with respect to this diagram. Okay, that is 3.8, figure number 3.8. Let us jump to figure number 3.8, because terminology changes, and we'll have a problem in understanding. So with respect to this diagram, if you can observe, this is a inverting amplifier. Why it is inverting amplifier? Because input is connected to inverting input terminal. Input resistance is R1. Feedback resistance is RF. Okay, and there is a load resistance RL. This diagram, this diagram what we have on the left hand side is simplified and written on the right hand side. It is equivalent. You can see the equivalent symbol here. This may be, this is very small. This you can see three equal symbol, three hyphens, that indicates equivalent circuit. So this is what I had written. This diagram is what I had written just now. This is the diagram what I had written. Okay, so thereby what happens is that if you observe this diagram, on the right hand side, this diagram, R1 is the input resistance, RF is the feedback resistance. Okay, and non-inverting input terminal is connected to ground. Okay, so because of this, just a second, is it somebody on the line?
Some students are waiting outside. Please, can you allow them?
Oh, just a second, just a second. But it is on, no? I think there's no issue with the. Just a second. I can ask them to rejoin, because I opened the browser, so they can immediately they can rejoin.
Okay, sir.
I think somebody has messaged also. Correct, no? Oh yeah, they are rejoining. I think yeah, somebody USN 1414 is waiting outside. Okay, okay. I think 41 is here. Can 414 can respond? Could you join? Because I have to check each, the each ESN. 414 is here. I don't know. 41, just a second. No, 414 is not here. 414 could not join. I think I have to send him a WhatsApp message. Can somebody message him this? 414? Because oh yes, he is here. He is here. 414 could join. Okay, yeah, here we go. Yes, what happens? If I'm away from this this browser window, Google Meet browser page, it will not allow the auto login of student, auto admission of students. If I'm active on this page, it will admit, but I can't do anything with this page. I need to open the document for discussion. Anyway, I think there are 63 guys. Here we go. I think out of 71, I think our class 10th is 71. Out of 71, 63, including me, of course. This list includes me also. Including me, there are 63 students. 63 total strength. Here we go. Okay. So on the on the right hand side, we have the simplified inverting amplifier. So RF is the feedback circuit. R1 is the input resistance. So this non-inverting input terminal is connected to ground. Because of that, what we have just now understood that this inverting input terminal is at a ground potential. This inverting input terminal, this is called as a virtual ground. Why virtual ground? Because the op-amp forces this terminal to be at a ground potential because the non-inverting input terminal is at a ground potential. That's all it is. Okay. This is what is known as that. So the author has explained with respect to this diagram. So that's why I have to. RL is the load resistance. Okay, load connected to op-amp output terminal. Okay, yeah. So the difference input voltage is ideally 0. Why is because though the input voltage is applied to inverting input terminal, because of the virtual ground concept, effective differential voltage VID should be equal to 0 until and unless input changes. Otherwise, effective differential input voltage is 0 because of the virtual ground. Okay, so the voltage at the inverting input terminal is approximately equal to that at the non-inverting input terminal. Non-inverting input terminal, since it is connected to ground, okay, since it is connected to ground, the voltage is 0. It is at 0 potential, and then so the inverting input terminal is also forced to be at 0 potential. Just a second. Okay, so the inverting input terminal is also forced to be at 0 potential, not physically, but virtually it is at 0 potential. Okay. In other words, inverting input terminal voltage V2 is approximately at the ground potential. Therefore, the terminal is said to be at a condition called as virtual ground. We say that it is virtual. Yes, this virtual ground concept is very important, because as we discussed in this diagram, I'll go back to this diagram because the author has discussed with respect to this diagram. Yes, in this case, the output, see, if both are 0, as the author explains, if both the terminals are 0, let us say, for example, if this is also virtual ground, that means 0 volts. This is anyway at 0 volts. Differential voltage is 0. Output voltage is 0. Then what is the use of op-amp? Okay, it is not so. In this case, ideally, let us say input is not changing, guys. At some point, input is actually a alternating signal. Let us say, for example, at some point, let us say it becomes 0 input voltage, for example. Okay, or it is at some point. Let us say it is at the peak value. Okay, at this point, the output voltage attains some value. Let us say output voltage is also at negative peak, for example. For a positive peak, let us say output is at the negative peak. Output will not change until, yes, just a second. Output will not change, okay, until input changes. Let us say input has to undergo changes. Until then, output will not change. When the let's say input is not changing, it is at a standard still position, then op-amp will force the inverting input terminal go to 0 volts. Okay, when input is inverting input terminal is forced to 0 volt, non-inverting input terminal is also 0 volt. Differential voltage is 0. That is VID is equal to VID. Differential voltage is 0. Output voltage is 0. Okay, so that's how it is. Now, when the input changes, let us say input slightly changes from some point to, from a higher peak to, it will start decreasing somewhere in this region. Output also changes. Okay, as the input continues to change, output also continues to change. But at every point in time, op amp will always try to drag inverting input terminal to zero potential, so that differential voltage remains at zero. Okay, so that is the purpose of connecting the non-inverting input terminal to ground. See the question is always that, let's say I don't want to apply any input voltage to a non-inverting input terminal, for example. Can I keep it open? I'll not connect anything. Let this pin be open. No, that will not serve the purpose. If the pin is open, non-inverting input terminal will never go to virtual ground. It will never be in a virtual ground position. Okay, so to force the inverting input terminal to be at the virtual position, so that output voltage changes only when the input voltage changes, we have to connect non-inverting input terminal to ground. That's why, whenever we perform any experiment using op amp terminals, one suggestion is always that do not keep input terminals open at any cost. Non-inverting input we are not using, but we cannot keep it open. We have to connect it to ground. That's what it is. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that's the meaning of what is known as a virtual ground concept. Is very, very important. So we have to understand that concept very carefully. Okay, so in ideal closed loop condition, virtual ground concept, in ideal closed loop condition, what happens to the virtual ground? Okay, so input voltage, see, if you observe this diagram, input current, is almost equal to the feedback current. Okay, yes, here you can observe, there is input current. Okay, if this is at a virtual ground condition, that means the current flowing to this terminal is zero. Okay, similarly, the current flowing to the non-inverting input terminal is also zero. Both the currents are zero. Okay, so because of that, whatever the input voltage, input current generated by the input signal, input generator or input input signal generator will be fed to the feedback terminal, because this IB remains zero for a virtual condition, virtual ground condition. Okay, so that's why the author says I in approximately equal to IF. So from this condition, we get this relation between the feedback current and the input current. Okay, so from that condition, we can derive the expression for the ideal closed loop conditions. So substituting for In, there is at the input terminals Vin minus V2. R1 is the input resistance. At the output terminal, it is V2 and V0 divided by Rf. Okay, let's see, observe this diagram again. This is how do we get that condition? V2 is at the junction. Okay, this is V2. Okay, this is V2. So for I in 1, I is equal to V by R. Voltage is difference of V in minus V2 divided by R1 for I in 1. What about for I of this? It is V2 minus V0. Output voltage is V0 divided by Rf. I is equal to V by R. So where voltage is the difference of voltages, because the difference. It's a difference terminal. At this point there exists a differential potential because of the voltages, and hence we get this condition. Oh, sorry, yes. I don't know why this suddenly opens. I'm sorry for this. Okay, yeah. Okay, here we go. So based on that condition, we can derive something. I jumped it. Sorry. Okay, here it is. In is equal to IF. From that condition, from V2 we get this expression. So V1 is equal to V2, because virtual ground, both the terminals are at zero potential. We get this expression. Very simple. So from this, we have V. So when you substitute V2 is equal to 0 in the above expression, so here V2 is equal to 0. We get the expression as V in by R1. From this expression, V in by R1 is equal to minus V0 by Rf. Okay, so when we take V0 by V in, there is a voltage gain, but it is closed loop voltage gain because there is a feedback. The expression for the closed loop voltage gain of a inverting amplifier is minus Rf by R. Very simple. Okay, so this condition is obtained because of the virtual gain of a virtual ground condition of a inverting terminal. Input resistance with feedback, Okay, yes, in this case, what is the inverting amplifier example is taken, and input resistance with feedback. Okay, so when feedback is applied, what is the changes in the input resistance? Okay, so if you observe the diagram, guys, what is the we are applying the input voltage. Okay, so there is R1, and the effective input resistance of the op amp is Ri. Similarly, R0 is the effective output impedance. Okay, so there is a feedback resistance Rf. Okay, so considering these resistances, we can find out the effective input, because as we have understood in the earlier class, if you remember. So if you consider the normal op amp, something like this op amp has a effective input resistance of Ri and effective output resistance of R0. But this Ri and R0, just a second, somebody is on the door. Just a second. Okay, yes, yeah, here we go. So, considering that effective, okay, this Ri and R0 will change whenever there's a feedback. Okay, so whenever there's a feedback, these factors will change. Okay, so how far it's going to change, that is discussed here. So, effective input resistance with feedback, RF stands for feedback, is R1. This, if you observe this diagram, two resistances are in series. Okay, two resistances, that is R1 and Rf by 1 plus A is in series. Okay, why it is in series? It looks like they are in parallel. The current flowing to this terminal is zero. This IB is zero. Because this IB is zero, the current should flow like this. Okay, and hence R1 and Rf is considered to be series. Okay, here we go. So and which is in parallel, observe this, and this two resistances, it is in parallel with Ri. Okay, there is R1 plus Rf by 1 plus A is in parallel with Ri. Okay, considering that situation, we can write effective input resistance of a op amp with feedback, negative feedback, of course, can be written like this: R1 plus Rf by 1 plus A in parallel with Ri. This Ri is the effective input impedance. Okay, this Ri, and they are very, see, this A is very large. That is, we have understood that it can go up to 200,000. It is very large quantity. Okay, it's open loop gain. It is very large quantity. Ra is also, it is in terms of mega ohms, very large quantities. Okay, so considering that factor, this A is very large. Okay, and Ra is very large, and then effective input impedance becomes, because see, when two resistances are in parallel, that is R1 in parallel R2. Okay, even if you consider R1 greater than R2, very much larger than R2, effective resistance is smaller than the smallest resistance. Okay, so this effective resistance Re will be smaller than the smallest resistance R2. Smallest resistance R2. Okay, so that's how it is done. Okay, guess just hold on a second. Yes. Yes, okay, we'll continue. So, where I was, yes, the effective, yes, okay. So, yeah, I was discussing that, two resistances are in parallel. Sorry, I need to erase it mistakenly. So, even if you take R1 greater than R2, sorry, this is R2, sorry. So, effective resistance Re will, if they are in parallel, two resistances are in parallel, Re will be smaller than R2. That's correct. So this is what we have learned. So because of this condition, so this factor R1 plus Rf by A, okay, these two are same. If these two are parallel, effective resistance is smaller than this factor. So we'll take even at least as small as this factor. As we assume that it is as small as this factor. So in the R1, okay. So even if you take this condition, so it is approximately 0. And it's very small. That means effective resistance is very small. Okay. So thereby, in the ideal condition, we can consider it as effective input resistance is RIF plus R1, where RIF is a very small quantity, and hence effective resistance becomes R1. Okay, so thereby, what is the the negative feedback? It's okay. Effective resistance is increases. Okay, but in this case, we have to carefully select the R1 because just to increase the input impedance, if you select very large quantity of R1, the power dissipation of the entire circuit increases. Okay, so keeping that power dissipation in mind, you have to select a appropriate value of R1. Okay, how to select that? We'll discuss that. For a given condition, how to select um, the input resistance we'll discuss. Output resistance with feedback. Okay, output resistance can be represented like this: R0 ROF is equal to R0. There is effective output resistance. There is a there is a actual output resistance R0 divided by 1 plus AB, where A is the open loop gain of an op amp, B is the feedback gain of an op amp. Feedback gain we had seen last class. The gain of the feedback network. Okay, that is the gain of the. So this is the actual circuit for inverting amplifier. The author is explaining. So for inverting amplifier, we know that there is a feedback resistance Rf and there is a resistance R1 connected to ground. Okay, connected to ground. Connected to input signal. Sorry, it's an inverting amplifier. So input voltage is given to inverting input terminal. So inverting input terminal and non-inverting input terminal is connected to ground. Okay, and and hence this condition where inverting input terminal is at a ground potential is called as a virtual ground. This we have understood. Okay, so for a output resistance, we can generally represent it as this expression, that is R0 divided by 1 plus AB. Okay, yes, what happens to this? Observe this. Let us analyze this very carefully. This A is a very large quantity. Even if you take 50,000 minimum, 50,000 minimum, this denominator becomes very large quantity. What happens to the output resistance? It should be very small. Ideally, what we want is RAF should be infinite ohms. ROF should be ideally zero ohms. But practically, we can't achieve this. Practically, it's not possible. Infinite ohms means resistance of an insulator. Not possible. RF zero is the resistance of a pure conductor. Not possible. Okay, but still with the negative feedback, we can improve the input impedance. So thereby we can achieve mega ohm of range input impedance, that is RAF. Okay, and ROF can go up to 50 ohms, 50 or 70 ohms. It depends. It depends on the other components connected to operational amplifiers. Okay, so our intention is that we should provide a feedback. See, our goal is to we should have a feedback so that we can control the gain. At the same time, we should make sure that RAF should not decrease. Our intention is that RAF should be greater than RI. RAF should be greater than RI. This RI. Okay. Similarly, RAF should be smaller than RO. RAF should be smaller than RO. This RO is this one. R. But this may not be possible always. Okay. This may not be possible. But with the additional components, we can achieve this. That's not part of our discussion in the course. So that's why I'm not going into detail. But this is our ultimate goal. Of providing the negative feedback with respect to input resistance or input. Generally, we can call it as input impedance as well as output impedance. Yes, okay. Here we go. Yeah. Oh yes. General linear applications. I'll go through the. Okay, in this applications, first we'll discuss DC. Last class actually, last week, before lockdown, we had discussed DC amplifier from the David Abel. But I'll go through this, because see, we discussed almost one chapter in David Abel, but here is only this much is given. Okay, highlight important point when it comes to DC condition or DC input. Okay, op-amp can amplify two types of signals, that is DC and AC. This we had understood, in the earlier class. For an op-amp, we can apply two types of input, or either it is a DC or it is AC. Or it is AC. Okay. In DC amplifier, the output signal changes in response to changes in the DC input. Okay. So when we apply a DC signal, when the DC input changes, output also changes. See, for example, if you apply, let's say we are applying 5 volts now, for example, let's say 5 volts, output is, let us say, for example, 5 volts. Voltage follower circuit, let us say, for example, output is also 5 volts. When you increase the voltage to 10 volts, output voltage becomes 10 volts. Output voltage becomes 10 volts. So there is no problem in case of a DC amplifier. So a DC amplifier can be inverting, non-inverting, or differential. All these three is possible. Inverting means if the input is positive, output becomes negative. That's all. Output becomes negative. Non-inverting, if the input is positive voltage, output is also positive voltage. Differential amplifier, when we apply DC voltage to both the inverting input terminals, let's say V1 and V2, output is the difference of these two. V0 is equal to V1 minus V2. Let me write it properly. Okay, so V0 will be equal to, in a differential amplifier case, V0 is equal to V1 minus V2. V1 minus V2. Okay. I think they have given a diagram. Let me check. Let us check through the diagram. Is a differential amplifier 6-1. Oh. Okay. So all the three conditions is given. Okay. 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 And this is inverting, non-inverting, as well as this a differential amplifier. There is V1 and V2 is applied to the amplifier. Okay. Differential amplifier, and output is the difference of the two voltages. You can see that output is the difference. Yes, I'll try to rotate this page. Let us wait just a second. Let me. I think in view I can rotate the page display. Okay, not this. Rotate. So here it is, clockwise. Yeah, here we go. Okay, it's all the three conditions is given. Okay, but for inverting amplifier, okay, observe this. Is it an inverting amplifier? Yes, because input voltage is applied to inverting input terminal, and the non-inverting input terminal is grounded. Okay. Okay. Why? I'll explain why this resistance is required. I'll explain now. Okay. So there is a load resistance. This, what happens is that okay. So we have this condition is virtual ground. That just now we have understood what is a virtual ground. Okay. Yes. Now, what happens if this resistance is not connected? What happens if this resistance is not connected? Yes. Ideally, what is expected is that both the currents flowing through the inverting input terminal and non-inverting input terminal. Okay. That is this current. I'll call it as, let us call it as IB1, just for our understanding purpose, discussion purpose, and let us call this as IB2, for example. IB2, the current flowing into inverting input, non-inverting input terminal. Ideally, we want IB1 to be equal to IB2. IB1 to be equal to IB2. But what happens is that in practical condition, depending on the op-amp configuration, this IB1 may not be equal to IB2. May not be equal to IB2. In that case, to equalize the current flowing to the inverting input terminal and the non-inverting input terminal, additional resistance is connected to the non-inverting input terminal. And what should be the value of this additional resistance? This additional resistance should be equal to the effective resistance at this point. The effective resistance at this point. Okay. What is this effective resistance? Effective resistance at this point is the parallel combination of two resistances, R1 and RF. Why it is a parallel combination? Why not it is a series combination? But that also we just now discussed, because the current from the source will split into two currents. One as IF, that is feedback current. Other one is IB1. This current, IB1. Okay. But ideally, what we have understood just now is that IB1 and IB2 are equal to 0 because of the virtual ground condition. Both currents are equal to 0. Okay. So thereby maximum input current should flow to the feedback network, and then because of the current polarity, this point is at a ground. See, the point is very simple. It's just a series network. It's not something new we are learning. Okay, this point is zero potential because of the virtual ground. Because of the virtual ground. That means this is at a, see, it's as good as having R1 and RF, and at this middle point it is grounded because of the virtual ground. It is grounded. Okay, that is zero potential. That means it is at zero potential. This is ground, that means it is at a zero potential, 0 volts. Okay, so because of that we consider R1 and RF as parallel combination. Okay, R1 and RF as parallel combination. Okay? So thereby the resistance connected to the non-inverting input terminal with the intention of equalizing the current flowing to the inverting and non-inverting input terminal, we connect a resistance whose value is parallel equal to parallel resistance of resistance R1 and RF. Very simple. Okay, so this is a inverting amplifier, DC inverting amplifier with the input DC. Okay, input voltage is DC. Okay, if you connect AC, it becomes AC amplifier. Nothing else. Nothing. Nothing much of a difference. Okay, so this is the gain of an amplifier minus RF by R1. This also we have seen how to derive this. Yeah. Next is non-inverting amplifier. Okay, what is non-inverting amplifier? Guys, very simple. Connect this, this supply point to ground, and connect supply to this non-inverting input. It becomes a non-inverting amplifier. Very simple. Okay. Other things remain same. This R1, RF, everything will remain same except this supply at the non-inverting input terminal and no supply at the inverting input. Very simple. That's how we can easily convert inverting amplifier to non-inverting amplifier. Okay. The gain of the amplifier is 1 plus RF by R1. Very simple. Okay. In inverting amplifier, if the input is positive, output will be negative. If the input is positive, output is negative. If the input is negative, output will be positive. Very simple. Okay. Whereas in a non-inverting amplifier, if the input is positive, output will also be positive. If the input is negative, output will also be negative. Very simple. Okay. But with a different gain. Okay, because whose amplifier gain is very high. Okay, if you observe the gain of the inverting and non-inverting amplifier, observe this. If R1 is equal to RF, for example, if R1 is equal to RF, okay, let's say for example, okay, so then gain of the non-inverting amplifier, sorry, inverting amplifier is -1, correct? Minus RF by R1 -1. Let us say R1 is equal to RF even for the non-inverting amplifier. Then gain of the non-inverting amplifier is 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2. That means the gain of the non-inverting amplifier is more than that of the gain of the inverting amplifier. Okay, so situation is like this. If you want a larger gain, go for a non-inverting amplifier. If you want a smaller gain and more stabilized operation, go for a inverting amplifier. Very simple. See, here also we can increase the gain. If you take RF greater than R1, you will have a larger gain, no doubt. But there are situations where we have to opt inverting amplifier over a non-inverting amplifier. Then we go for a inverting amplifiers. Okay, this is a differential amplifier. Yes, in differential amplifier, just don't worry about the other circuitry, null circuitry. Don't worry about that. Okay, don't worry means we can't ignore, but for our discussion purpose. Okay, so we are applying two voltages, Vx and Vy. Yes, I don't know whether you will be able to see that small printing. This is Vx and this is Vy. Okay, so output voltage is by the way, what kind of amplifier is this, guys? If you observe this amplifier, okay, this for a time being ignore this point, ignore these two supply. Okay, if you connect these 2 points to ground, okay, input voltages are equal, output voltage will be equal to 0 volts. Okay, we want to control the gain, and hence we have to go for a negative feedback. We have to go for a what is known as a negative feedback. Negative feedback is possible only in an inverting amplifier. Okay, but we have to use the inverting amplifier as a differential amplifier. We have to make use of inverting amplifier as a differential differential amplifier or difference amplifier. So for that, what we have to do is we have to connect supply input voltage Vx and Vy, one to the inverting input terminal and another to the non-inverting input terminal. Okay, So because of this, when you measure, okay, what is the, see, just because we are connecting the voltage to the non-inverting input terminal, the gain of this amplifier will not be equal to 1 plus Rf by R1. Okay, say because we are applying, we are applying the input voltage to this what you call, non-inverting input terminal. We may suddenly conclude that the gain of this amplifier is close to. Just a second. Hold on a second. I need to take in screen. Because this is used as a attendance purpose. Anyway, okay, I'll continue. Where I was next? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so just because we are taking, we are applying supply voltage to non-inverting amplifier, the gain will not be equal to 1 plus Rf by R1. Why? Because we are connecting the input to inverting amplifier also. It is like an inverting amplifier only, but non-inverting amplifier is not equal to 0. So that means if you go to this inverting amplifier, if you observe the difference between, I'll zoom out so that you can see both the circuit together. Okay, what is the difference between these two circuits? Difference between these two circuits. In this case, there is no supply connected to non-inverting input, but in this case, there is a supply connected to inverting input. Okay, but of course, there's one more resistance R3 that I'll explain now. Okay, otherwise, both the circuit remains the same. That means this differential amplifier circuit is same as the inverting amplifier circuit, with the only difference that a supply is connected to non-inverting input terminal. This supply is connected to non-inverting input terminal. This is Vy, and this is Vx. That's all. Okay, fine. So let us look into a little more detail. Okay, so if you apply this, observe this circuit. Okay, so Vx and Vy. So it's an inverting amplifier. The gain is minus Rf by R1. This we know, the gain of a inverting amplifier, closed loop inverting amplifier. So the voltage gain is Vx minus Vy. Vx minus Vy. Okay. So what is this resistance R3? Why this is required? Because we don't find this resistance in this circuit. Okay. We don't find R3 as it is in this, in this circuit. It's not there. Okay. So what is that R3? Let us observe that. Let us understand that. Okay. Yes. What happens is that, okay. Yes. Let's know, to understand that concept. Okay, we have to understand that the inverting and non-inverting terminals are connected to base terminal of a amplifiers, BJT amplifiers. Okay, for example, this is inverting, non-inverting input. This is the inverting input. Okay, yes. For these transistor to bias, these transistors, let us call it. These are Q1 and Q2. This we had discussed in David Abel textbook. This is the equivalent circuit of a op-amp. In that, these two transistors to bias, it requires DC bias current, DC input current or DC bias current. Okay, so for DC bias current to flow, we have to apply DC input. We have to see, if you apply DC input, there will be DC bias current, no problem. Okay, but let's say, for example, we are applying AC input. For example, AC amplifier. Let's say that we'll discuss next, of course. But let's say AC input we are applying. There is a AC current. This is IAC. AC current is flowing, but this transistors will bias only if there is a DC current. DC current. How to achieve this? Okay, to achieve that, a resistor is connected to ground, from this terminal to ground. The purpose of this is to, okay, one is, see, since we have R2, this R2 is equivalent to R1. Why? Because input current, to match input current. See, for this network, if you see only this network, there is a supply, there is R1, and this point is at ground potential. There is 0 because of the virtual ground. Similarly, for this network, what we have is, there is a supply and there is R2, one more resistance. Okay, and this is directly connected to non-inverting. See, in the earlier case, if you observe this, I'll go back to this condition. In this case, what we can observe is that, non-inverting was connected to ground. That means this is at 0 potential, which forces this point to be at 0 potential. This will force this point to be at 0 potential. Okay, but now the situation is different. Now we can't get a virtual ground because Non-inverting input terminal is not connected to ground. See, non-inverting input terminal is not connected to ground at all. Assuming that this resistance is not connected initially. Initially, this connection is not there. Non-inverting input terminal is not connected to ground. It is connected to some voltage. So this point will not be at zero potential. This point will not be at zero potential. So thereby this point will also not be at zero potential. Then how to achieve virtual ground? Okay, and then that is one point. Another point is to equalize the base bias current in both the terminals. What we have to do is we have to connect one resistance to the ground from this inverting input terminal. What this value should be equal to? See, very simple, guys. At the inverting input terminal, there are two resistances, R1 and RF, and there is a potential difference at this point. Sorry, not potential. Sorry, this potential is zero because of the virtual ground. Okay. Now we have two resistances, R2 and R3, and in between junction of that, just like R1 R2 junction is zero, R2 and R3 junction is somewhere here, and because R3 junction other end is zero, this point is also at zero potential. This point is also at zero potential. How to select R2 and R3 value? Very simple. Since both are parallel network in the sense, to equalize the current flowing to the inverting input terminal and the non-inverting input terminal, the resistance at these two terminals, whether it's terminal 2 and 3, should be equal. What is the resistance at 2? Parallel combination of R1 and RF. At terminal 3, it should be parallel combination of R2 and R3. And hence what should be R2 equal to? R2 is equal to R1 and R3 should be equal to RF. R3 should be equal to RF. But RF other end is not connected to ground. This is very important. Other terminal is not connected to ground, but in this case R3 is connected to ground. If R3 other end is not connected to ground, if it is kept open, then this terminal 3 will never be at zero. This terminal 3 will never be at zero potential. We want this terminal 3 to be at zero potential to generate a virtual ground point. Very simple. Okay. So because of that, this additional resistance, because this, if you look the circuit as it is, R1 RF makes sense. R2 also to some extent we can justify that, R2 is used as a current limiting resistor. But what is R3? See, how to understand how to appreciate the significance of R3? Okay, this is used as this is used to provide DC current path for the non-inverting input terminal, and also it will help in retaining the terminal 3 at zero potential, so thereby generating a virtual point, and also to equalize the bias current flowing into these two terminals. We need this resistance. Okay, but in the virtual ground concept, we understood that current will be zero, but if the input changes, the current also changes. Okay, but as soon as the current changes, op-amp will force these two terminals to go to zero. See, op-amp is like a compare. It's like a referee. Is monitoring the input changes. Okay, there is an input change. It will make sure that these two terminals are at zero potential. If input changes, it will change the output, and it will bring these two points back to zero. That's how op-amp works. Op-amp is very powerful. Okay. Anyway, here we go. Okay. Output voltage. The gain should be the gain of a inverting amplifier, not non-inverting amplifier. Minus RF by R1. Output potential is output voltage is difference of these two voltages, Vx minus Vy. Okay, and hence it is a negative differential amp. Negative in the sense output voltage is negative of that of the input voltages. Very simple. Yes. Okay. So this is the DC amplifier condition. Okay, this is what explained here. I need to rotate this view. I think counterclockwise. Here we go. Okay, so that's what explained in this text. You can go through this, no problem. Okay, so to reduce the output offset voltage to zero, and that is to improve the accuracy of the DC amplifier. The offset null circuitry of the op-amp should be used. The null circuitry, which we have discussed earlier. Let us not go into that. Okay, assuming that output offset voltage is zero. With that assumption, let us discuss. Okay, so for op-amps without offset null capability, the external offset compensating components has to be used. Otherwise, high precision op-amp like 714 can be used, which has a better offset nulling capability, which has a smaller offsets and drifts. Okay, yes, that's about the DC amplifiers. Okay, so DC amplifiers can be of three types: inverting amplifier, non-inverting amplifier, and the differential amplifier. That's what it is. Okay, Yes, next is AC amplifier. Next we will discuss AC amplifier. Again, there are three circuits. That's what I can see. Okay, so there is a little more discussion. Not much of a discussion. Okay, let's go into that. AC amplifiers. Yeah, so we can straight away start the discussion with the diagram guys. I mean, not go into the detail. Okay. So AC amplifier, AC input signals. Input is a AC signal, and this needs to be response characteristic often that is low and high frequency limits. Okay, or if the input is riding on some DC level, it is necessary to use an AC amplifier with a coupling capacitor. Okay, because the author is trying to, even if the designer needs to be response characteristic. Okay. Okay, this I'll explain this coupling capacitors. Okay, this concept I'll explain. In an audio receiver system that consists of a number of stages, because of the thermal drift, component tolerances and variations, DC level is produced. To prevent the amplification of such DC levels, coupling capacitors must be used. Okay, between the stages. Let's explain this coupling capacitor concept. Okay, I'll go to the circuit, then I'll discuss that. Okay, shows the AC inverting and non-inverting amplifier with the coupling capacitors. Okay, we'll go to that point. The coupling capacitors not only blocks the DC voltage, but also it also sets the lower cutoff frequency limit to. Okay, fine. This also we discuss. How do we get this lower cutoff frequency limit? Okay, yes, I will go to the diagrams. I think this is the diagram, no? Yeah. AC voltage amplifiers. AC voltage inverting amplifier, non-inverting amplifier, and differential amplifier with external offset voltage compensating components. Okay, so what about this one? Is a inverting amplifier, and pin numbers are for the 14 pin now. Okay. Okay, so the author has given these two set of diagrams. AC input signal, figure 6.1 and 6.2. 6.1 is this one, guys. This is 6.1, which we discussed for the DC amplifiers, but that also works for the AC amplifiers. That's not a problem. This is 6.2. 6.2. Okay, but 6.3 is given for I think bandwidth. That is for some other discussion, not for the 6.3 is not for the. That is the next discussion. Okay. So we'll discuss 6.2 now. 6.2. Okay. There is inverting, non-inverting, and the differential amplifier. Okay. Okay. Yes. Now the AC differential amplifier. Okay. So AC differential amplifier. Sorry. Inverting amplifier. I'm sorry. AC inverting amplifier. Inverting amplifier. Okay. Input is connected to inverting input terminal. Okay, and that remains the same. And a non-inverting input terminal is connected to ground. No problem. Non-inverting input terminal is connected to ground. But what happens is that to provide input offset nulling. What is input offset? Is input offset is sorry, this one right. Input offset voltage. Input offset voltage. This input offset voltage says, is it time? I think, okay, last minute, guys. I'll end with this input offset concept. Okay, input offset voltage is a voltage which helps in reducing the output voltage to 0 when both the input terminals are at 0 potential. When both the input terminals are at 0 potential. How to set input offset voltage? That is using a potentiometer network. That is using a voltage divider network. That is RA and RB. Okay. Both because input offset voltage can be either positive or it can be negative. That's why if you see this potentiometer, this suddenly opens up and okay. So if you see this, this network, potential divider network, potentiometer, one end is negative voltage, the other end is positive voltage. Okay. So adjust this pot in such a way that the input offset voltage is adjusted so that output voltage is 0. Okay, so this network is not necessary for a DC amplifier circuit. If it is a DC input, see, for example, if this is a pure DC, then this is not necessary. Okay, there is no question of not necessary to adjust as it is. There is a flexibility. There is an advantage of DC amplifiers. But when it comes to AC amplifier, because see, when we say AC, there should not be any DC. I mean, DC should be 0. Okay. So to make sure that input offset voltage is 0, sorry, output voltage is output offset voltage is 0, you have to provide a input offset voltage. So that is this network. Yes, okay. Yes, I'll continue. In the next class, I'll continue with the this is the inverting AC amplifier. Similarly, we have this circuits are similar to what we discussed for DC amplifier. There's not much of a difference. Okay, non-inverting amplifier, and we'll continue with the differential amplifier, and we'll define this equation. That is the frequency and the design of a coupling capacitors for a given cutoff frequency limit. There is lower cutoff frequency as well as upper cutoff frequency. That I'll discuss. Guys, for this discussion, I'll be using the David Abel book in the next class. Okay. Yes, thank you. Thanks for joining. See you in the next class. Stay home, stay safe, guys. Take care.